Okay, now authorities say South Africa recorded a slight decline in the number of rhinos killed for their horns in the first half of 2023. Poachers killed 231 rhinos in the first 6 months of the year, compared with 259 in the same period last year, according to the Environmental Ministry. Now, that represents an 11% decrease nationwide. Environmental Minister Barbara Creecy says it's no secret that the rhino population in the Kruger National Park has been severely battered by almost 20 years of poaching. Let's bring in Ribeira now, director of NGO known as Outraged, South African Citizens Against Rhino Poaching. Kim, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much, ma'am, for your time. Thanks for joining us. Yes, there is a decline, but rhinos are still being poached. Do you welcome the decline? Can we begin there first? Because it could signal that what efforts are in place to stop the poachers are beginning to work, maybe?
Yes, any number of rhino that aren't poached, of course, we do welcome that. But in real terms, it needs to be that we measure whether or not the decline is as a result of a lesser population of rhino, or whether or not measures that have been put in place are actually being are effective.
Okay, what are you seeing on the ground?
Things that we're not supplied with. Well, one of the things that we haven't been supplied with is the population stats for places, for example, like the Kruger National Park. And that's the only real way that we can gauge whether or not what the efforts that we've put in place are actually delivering the results.
Okay, but what do you know? What do you see on the ground? I mean, as an NGO that's campaigning against the rhino poaching, and you hear the stories, what are you seeing? I mean, poaching is still continuing.
Yes, it is still continuing. The dehorning program that's been instituted in a number of reserves seems to have been bearing fruit, which is very positive. It is a big concern that AZN is seeing the impact of rhino poaching that they are currently, and that needs to be addressed rather urgently.
Yeah, dehorning means...
It would also...
Yeah, sorry, you froze. Your connection is freezing a little bit. Sorry about that, Kim. Continue.
So it would also be good to see private rhino owners supported to a degree that allows them to, because for them to actually having anti-poaching units is very high.
Yeah, I mean, the demand for rhino horns, as we understand in Asia, is still continuing, and that's where the threat lies. But there was also a concern that some of the employees of game reserves and national parks might be colluding with the poachers, and then some of these parks have introduced things like lie detector test. Do you think that could help going forward, or would you like to see more stringent measures being taken?
I think that any measure that's taken is going to be welcomed very much so. We've been calling for the fact that lie detector tests and where they gauge whether or not, I can't remember exactly what it's called right now, where they have a look at the lifestyle audit.
Lifestyle audit, yeah.
To see whether or not it's correct. That sort of thing, and I see that in Kruger they are starting, and sandparks are starting to institute those sort of measures, and that is very welcome, because it could be an early warning signal to the fact that there are some of the staff members that may be involved in poaching. One of the things that we did see during COVID was that because the park was closed, there was less poaching. So that would imply to a degree that the poachers were actually coming in at the gates and being allowed in at the gates. So it is important that the staff are scrutinised, not to a degree where they actually feel threatened, but so there's a fine balance there, but it is something that we need to look at.
Yeah, and I guess better cooperation with rangers and law enforcement agencies would go a long way to improve the protection of rhinos.
Absolutely. For the most part, every single ranger that's out there, or most of the rangers that are out there, are actually doing a sterling job. And it's a very difficult job for them because it's not a job that they should actually be doing. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be a law enforcement agency. So that in itself is difficult for them. So I think that they do, for the most part, as I say, a really good job.
Okay, thank you very much, Kim. Yes, thank you very much for your time and your reflections on rhino poaching in our country, albeit a slight decline. More can be done, and rangers are currently doing a sterling job. That's Kim da Ribeira, Director of Outraged, South African Citizens Against Rhino Poaching.